Take the drawer and put it in, and at this point, you should know whether or not it fits, and it fits just fine. I have just a little bit of give in the front, and that's what I wanted. A little gap here and a little gap there. However, we have a lot of space in the back. It can shift left and right quite a bit. In addition, it pushes too far back. There's a bit of a lip here that I don't want. We want it to stop flush with this front piece of wood, so it ends up right like that. So while the front's correct, we need to put in some kind of glide to make sure it stays flat. So all we're going to do is we're going to cut a thin piece of wood that runs down the middle of this, cut a notch in the back of the drawer so it follows, it runs along that piece, and we just need to make sure it's centered. That'll keep it from shifting. This is some 1/4" material I found under the upcut saw on the left side. You could use the same material you use for the bottom of your drawer if you have it still around, but any 1/4" material will work. Whether it's plywood with a veneer or the MDF or the melamine, it doesn't matter. As long as it's a 1/4", it'll work fine. It needs to be about 16 inches long for now, just long enough to extend the entire way of the depth of your drawer. So we're just going to set the table saw to 1 inch right there and cut a long strip. Now this strip is going to go right down the center, but as you can see, it's way too long. First thing we have to do is figure out, where do I need to cut it? If the inside edge of the drawer front, right here, hits the end of this, it'll stop the drawer from going too far back. So we're going to cut this in such a way, whatever the outside measurement is, from the back to this front edge, subtract the thickness of this drawer front, and that'll allow it to inset but be flush right here. So you take a tape measure, and again, this measurement is right for me. I don't know if it'll be correct for you, but I'll give it to you. Mine is 15.5, and that should be pretty accurate for everyone. 15.5 minus about 3/4 inch. The front of this should be 0.75, is 14 3/4 long. So I'm going to take this piece and cut it 14 3/4 on the chop saw. Now you need to be careful on this. This piece will go underneath, so you need to watch out for that. Make sure it is against it, and then I let it fall down, and that's my cut. Once you get this, put it in, and you can center it about. It doesn't need to be perfect, because we're just checking the depth here that I cut it correctly. So when I put the drawer on and push it back, I still have a little bit of a lip. It's all the way back, and it's still there. So I am going to cut off about a 1/16 inch and shorten it until I know that it fits correctly. Then we'll deal with centering it and gluing it on. Put the piece back on and check it. This is my second attempt, and that's perfect. The center is right. Whether it's left or right, I know the center is good. That's what I want, so my length is good. Now all we have to do is get this in the middle. So it's going to take a tape measure. I'm going to do a little bit of math. So when we measure from the inside of one apron to the inside of the other apron, I have 14 3/4 exactly. Yours should be pretty close to mine. Half of 14 3/4. Half of 14 is 7. Half of 3/4 is 3/8. So I'm going to go in from the apron, not the leg, but the apron, 7 3/8, and draw a line. Sometimes it helps if I can go underneath. And I'm going to do exactly the same from the front, but be careful, don't put it against the leg. That measurement's different, that's only 14. But I need to go from the apron, 7 3/8. Right here, right there, and that's really good. Now what I need to do is measure from that mark a 1/2 inch to both sides, because this piece is 1 inch wide. So all I do is I move the tape measure down to a whole number, say 7. And then I'm going to put a mark a 1/2 inch here at 6.5 and another one at 7.5. There we go, and do exactly the same thing here. There's 7, it's right on the line. So I put a mark at 6.5 and another one at 7.5. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow me to put this in, and I can see the pencil lines on both sides, just a little. All I have to do is line it up with both pencil lines here and here, and have it pushed all the way back. So we take a bottle of glue, and please remember, you don't need to glue the whole thing. Just a little dab here, and a little dab there is all it takes. Obviously none in the middle because there's nothing there to glue to. And then lay it down nice and flat right there. Give it a little squeeze down to the wood so it holds it in place. If you have a lot of squeeze out, just pull it out of the way. And I can just see both lines right there. Then take a nail gun and just tack it in with one nail. It only takes one. Back is perfect. There, drawer glide is in. Now we're gonna make the drawer fit that glide. Now we take the drawer and turn it upside down. This is the front. We don't need to do anything to it. In the back, we need to cut a notch that fits over top of the glide we just put in. So again, we have to tape measure. We're gonna find the middle. Now this one is 13 7/8. So we're dealing with eighths again. So half of 13 is 6 1/2. Half of 7/8 is 7/16. Notice whenever I'm dividing a fraction in half, I just double the denominator. So I have 6 1/2 plus 7/16. So 6 1/2 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's dead center. So dead center is going to be 6 15/16. That is the center if you just do the math straight up on a calculator or something. Now we just do the same thing we did before. I'm going to move this down to a whole number. I put it at 8, but whatever. And then go a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch there. Okay. Then we're just going to take a saw, and you could use either a coping saw, you could use a back saw, or you could use what's called a dovetail saw. I don't care, and it doesn't matter a bit. So grab a back saw. It doesn't make a bit of difference. I'm gonna put my thumb against the blade here so it's nice right where I want it on the line. Go backwards until it starts to cut, and then just go forward and back. You don't need to cut fast or hard. I'm gonna angle it back slightly so the blade here doesn't really mark up my bottom, but it's not a big deal, it's on the bottom. Cut down till it just touches this bottom. We do the same on the other mark, right there. And right there. Now all we need to do is cut this out with a chisel. Instead of trying to saw it out, we're just gonna bust it out. We take your chisel and we put it right at the base of the cuts that you just put in and just give it a hit and it should break right out. There it is. And that's it. It doesn't really need to be pretty because again, it's on the bottom, in the back. Now you simply put this in, line it up. Hopefully, if this is the right size, it'll fit right over your glide. If it's too narrow, you made it a little bit too tight, you simply need to cut a little bit more out to widen it. Simple as that. We take the drawer, we set it on and tell it there it is, it fits right in, and push it all the way back. It does have that little bit of give in the front, which is fine, I knew that, but it's flush in the front and it has zero give in the back, almost nothing. So that is exactly what we want, it comes out straight. From here, if you want to sand any sharp edges off, the drawer is now finished and now we're going to focus on the top.